drug company executives were hauled before the Senate to explain why are they gouging American citizens on the cost of their medications. And it didn't go well for those executives. Finally, somebody starts asking these people, well, let me get this right. We got 2,000, 10,000, 20,000% markup on your drugs, and you're telling us it's because R&D. That's a lie, because these drugs have been on the market forever, and you're still raising the prices. You know what? This calls attention to both the corporate Republicans and the corporate Democrats, because the corporate Democrats are as much of the problem as the corporate Republicans. Take it from there.
Well, and the reason they're as much of the problem is because Big Pharma tends to spread their money out almost evenly. Republicans get a little bit more, but it's statistically insignificant. So they bought both sides. But here's an interesting thing, because yes, all of these executives said, well, R&D is so expensive. We spend a lot of money. There was not one single drug between the year 2010 and 2016 approved by the FDA that was not funded and developed without taxpayer money. Every drug from 2010 to 2016 that was approved.
Explain how that works. And universities, go ahead and talk about that.
Taxpayers, we fund the universities. The government itself hires out scientists to do this research. We have government-funded scientists. And every drug from 2010 to 2016 was paid for and developed with taxpayer
dollars. Money.
And they're lying to us.
So here's the real numbers on it. 75% of the money that they're saying is actually for R&D actually is for advertising.
Right.
It's all these ads that you see every 10 seconds on the air. That's where the money's going. And now what I love about this right now, first of all, I'm not optimistic that much will come out of it. This is all a show.
Yeah.
This is a show. They're going to appear in front of these congressmen, and the Congress is going to ask them a few tough questions. And you're only going to have a couple of people like Ron Wyden who actually does anything about it. You're going to have Cory Booker's and the Feinsteins. You're going to have all those people that say, let's give them a break. They won't say that overtly, but that's what they'll do behind closed doors. Farron, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Pacific Gas and Electric has finally acknowledged that its equipment likely caused the deadliest wildfire in California history. RT correspondent Brigida Santos joins me now with that story. Brigida, inspections of PG&E's transmission lines identified equipment that should have been repaired. It should have been replaced years ago. Why didn't they do that? Why didn't they take the steps to fix the problem before it became this catastrophe?
Your guess is as good as mine. It's incredibly unclear why PG&E didn't take steps to address safety issues, but it likely has to do with the fact that the company has become too big to fail in California. Now, in nearly half the state, PG&E is the only company authorized to deliver electricity and gas to customers. Now, it maintains a clear monopoly in the market, and it's no secret that PG&E's infrastructure is aging and unsafe. Between 2014 and 2017, investigators attributed over 1,500 fires to the company's power lines and hardware. And last year, its equipment is suspected of causing the Camp Fire, which, as you said, is the deadliest and most destructive wildfire in California history. While the cause of the blaze is still under investigation, PG&E has said now that it believes its equipment will be declared an ignition point. That fire burned for 17 days, destroyed thousands of homes, and killed 86 people. And sadly, it isn't the only deadly wildfire that PG&E has been suspected of causing. The year before, in 2017, the company also took responsibility for the Tubbs Fire in Sonoma County, which killed 22 people. Now, that fire at the time was also the deadliest in California history, so it's outdoing itself every year. And it's possible that these fires and deaths could have been prevented if PG&E had only fixed its troubled transmission lines and conductors.
Yeah, well, full disclosure here, I'm working on the Woolsey fire, which was also a huge catastrophe in California. It wasn't PG&E, it was Edison. But the problem is we're finding the same types of things where they're put on notice. They know they should do something. We know exactly where the fire is going to start. Everybody is telling them this is going to be a problem. You need to do something. No, we need to save money. Here's the problem with it, isn't it, Brigida? They understand that all they have to do is pass this on to under the ratepayers. I mean, ratepayers have to pick this up. And because of that, PG&E gets all these special deals. They get handled properly for being negligent, for doing their job in a way that is substandard. They actually get rewarded for that. The U.S. Bankruptcy Court has allowed PG&E to move forward with its bankruptcy filing. If successful, this wouldn't be the first time the state has bailed PG&E out. I mean, it's almost like it takes you back to the big bailout of the banks. They ran such a ridiculous, poor operation that in 2008, for example, we bail them all out because they're incompetent boobs. So taxpayers then had to pay for these Wall Street types that were incompetent boobs. This is the same thing here, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It's not the first time that this has happened. Back in 2018, the California State Legislature passed a law allowing PG&E to pass the cost of its 2017 liabilities to customers, which potentially could raise rates an estimated $5 per year for every $1 billion issued in bonds. Now, it's unclear whether that law is going to roll over and apply to PG&E's 2018 liabilities, but the company's bankruptcy filing this year comes in addition to that, as PG&E faces $30 billion in damages for reportedly fueling over a dozen massive wildfires since 2017. Now, in the past, it's likely they could have just ignored these problems, but combined with 6 years of drought, it's bound to end up with wildfires.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a blame. Yeah, of course it's a drought. We understand that. But when you have a set of facts that give rise to a closer look and more diligence, that's the responsibility of the folks making decision at PG&E. I mean, that's what negligence is about when they don't do their job. And in this is well beyond negligence. This is reckless conduct. For Camp Fire survivors, PG&E bankruptcy makes it very difficult, very complicated for the people who are most affected to ever be paid for their losses, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And the company has already stopped issuing payments to many wildfire victims as a result of this bankruptcy filing. Bankruptcy also means that the future of gas and electricity for 40% of California is uncertain. Now, this is why we need more competition and why the state really needs to start cracking down on monopolies and doing a better job of inspecting and regulating giant utilities.
Yeah, Jerry Brown has treated these utilities as if they're his part of his family, his children. They're always there in line for a handout when they commit these ridiculous steps of negligence. They're always there asking for relief from legislature, and they always threaten, well, gee whiz, if you don't do this, we're just going to go out of business. Well, maybe that's the marketplace. Maybe they do go out of business and somebody steps back in. Rajita, thank you for joining me, okay? Every year, 1 million hernia surgeries are performed in the United States. Unfortunately, some mesh implants that are used in these surgeries have caused complications, including infection and organ damage that led to surgeries to correct those problems. If this has happened to you, learn more about the hernia mesh lawsuit by going online to hernia.law or call us for a free consultation about your legal rights.